excuses. Skin of a reason stuffed with a lie. Paul, why are you randomly bringing up this quote? Well, it's because the 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who played not too far away from where I played high school football, are atop just about everyone's power rankings right now. And they are making every single plausible excuse that an NFL ownership group could give, that an NFL head coach could give. They're making all of those excuses look like bullshit. They're 5-1 after beating the 49ers Sunday afternoon. They're the consensus best team in the league. Some people had them as a dark horse Super Bowl team going into the year, but I don't know how serious anyone really took the Bucs going into the year, because no matter how much you might like them, Baker Mayfield's playing quarterback. But Baker Mayfield has really become a damn good to great player in Tampa Bay. After being good in Cleveland, he's improved. And he's helping the Buccaneers maintain success that shouldn't be possible, but success that makes every NFL organization that's incapable of that look like a bunch of fucking idiots. Let's start off with this. How many teams across the league would use losing an all-time great player as an excuse to explain a run of mediocrity, if not a complete fall back to the dumps? Say the Patriots post Tom Brady, the Saints post Drew Brees, the Colts after Andrew Luck to a lesser extent, Steelers after Ben Roethlisberger. Some of those teams have had some rough years since then. Credit to the Steelers, who have at the very least been hanging around that mediocre level. But you lose a great quarterback, that's a built-in excuse to not really have a great team for half a decade plus. We had to rebuild. We lost an all-time great. The Bucs also lost Tom Brady, who was not playing like the Tom Brady of Tom Brady's prime. Still, a lot of people, I think, thought that after Brady retired, that there was going to be a rather long rebuild. They had a lot of older players. That has not happened in Tampa Bay. So no excuses made for moving on from arguably the greatest player to ever play American sports. Definitely the greatest winner. Shut up, Paul. You don't know what you're talking about. Tom Brady cheated. Fuck you. But bringing it back. So that's not an excuse for NFL owners anymore. You had someone great back in the day. Tough shit. It's the NFL. Not for long. Get the next person. Another excuse regularly used by NFL ownership. We don't have a super talented quarterback. I don't think anyone would argue that Baker Mayfield is super talented. Does he do a lot of things well? Yeah. He's elusive. He's tough. He has a good arm. Not a great one. Good. But he's also a small player who certainly isn't as nimble and athletic as Patrick Mahomes. He's getting close to that, though. Or a Lamar Jackson or a Jaden Daniels. He's not doing the crazy shit we've seen Drake May do the last couple of weeks or Josh Allen do the last couple of years. There's a lot of teams that don't have quarterbacks with the talent of the guys that I just mentioned. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. They use that as a crutch. They use that as an excuse. The Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. How different is Tua in terms of his build, his game, than Baker Mayfield? in terms of what you would expect looking at the guy, watching the tape. But there's a huge difference between the two guys. Mayfield's been great. It helps to have a guy like Mayfield. But if you're an NFL team and you see Baker Mayfield, who was available to you after the Panthers moved on from him, if you see Baker Mayfield out there, you cannot argue, well, we don't have a super talented quarterback. We're just waiting to get that guy. And so many NFL ownership groups will plant that among the fan base and let it take root. And you've got fan base after fan base after fan base that are just waiting for the super talented quarterback that's going to save them. By the way, sometimes the super talented quarterback comes and the organization's a dumpster fire. Matt Stafford with the Lions, and they're never able to win with that guy, even if he was good. So the Bucs are making that excuse for NFL teams look like bullshit. We don't have a big name head coach. That's an excuse that's common across the league. Teams like the Titans don't have the ability to bring in a guy who's good. But there's lots of teams out there that are like, our guy just isn't the guy. The Bucs head coach is Todd Bowles. Do you know what Todd Bowles' all-time record is? 57-66. He's 32-25 in Tampa Bay. They've made the playoffs all 3 years. One of the years that they made the playoffs, they were 8-9. But that's an excuse that's also out the window, thanks to what the Buccaneers are doing, at least through 1/3 of this year. They moved on from Tom Brady. They haven't blinked all that much. Have a guy in Baker Mayfield who they found off the scrap heap. Have a head coach in Todd Bowles, who they also found off the scrap heap, made him their defensive coordinator before they decided to move on from Bruce Arians. And we're not done. Because the Buccaneers are really making people that use this excuse for their team, owners, coaches, players, they're really making this one look like one you can no longer argue publicly. We're too hurt. We got too many injuries. Have you seen all of the injuries that the Bucs have dealt with this year? Chris Godwin's out. Bucky Irving's out. Mike Evans has a hamstring injury. He's out. Emeka Egbuka, their awesome rookie, suffered a hamstring injury on Sunday. He's probably going to be out for a while. Kalijah Kancey, their defensive tackle, he's out for the rest of the year. They've got a guard on IR, a linebacker on IR. They've overcome having Tristan Wirfs miss the first few games of the season. Their tackle, he was on the PUP list to open the year. Their right tackle suffered a foot injury against the Texans. He's on IR. He's supposed to be back, I think, next week, if he wasn't back already this week. A guard with a knee injury that's out for the year. Another offensive lineman with a knee injury that's out for the year. Another offensive lineman who tore his ACL who's out for the year. They are dealing with injuries and winning with a quarterback they found off a scrap heap and a head coach who most people would look at and say, I could do better than that. And I love it because there's way too many excuses made by NFL organizations. You got to get the guy at quarterback. You got to get the head coach. Well, look at the Bucs. Why aren't you the Bucs? That's what everyone should be asking instead of making excuses for why they're coming up short.